I am not sponsored by them, nothing. I bought this with my own money, and this test will be completely honest, and the results will speak for themselves. I don't know what the results are going to be. The engine might get cleaned, or it might not. But by the end of the video, we will find out. I am just as curious as you are whether or not this stuff actually works, or if it's all hype, and I plan on finding out and showing you guys with this video. According to Gumout, this should prevent rust and corrosion, it should clean the fuel injectors, clean intake valves, and clean the combustion chamber. What I'm going to be looking at is if Gumout will clean the combustion chamber by removing carbon deposits, because I could physically see carbon deposits with my borescope camera. Here's the exact product I'm using. It's called their all-in-one. I'm going to be following the instructions exactly, and I'll go over that before I put the fuel cleaner in my gas tank. So let's get started by looking into each cylinder on my 3-liter V6 engine with my borescope camera to see how dirty it is before we add the cleaner. For reference, we'll start with the passenger side and move to the driver's side. The cylinders are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to start with cylinder 1, which is right down here. Just remove the spark plug and spark plug wire and send that camera down. Okay, going into cylinder 1, let's take a look. You can see there's a decent amount of carbon buildup around the edges of the piston. There's also a decent amount of carbon buildup on the middle of the piston. And this is what you would consider a typical amount of carbon buildup. It's nothing crazy. It's not like extreme amount, but it's also not a little bit. I've looked into engines where there is no carbon buildup, and I've also looked into engines like this where there's some, and I've looked into other engines where there is a ton. So now that you know what cylinder 1 looks like, let's move to cylinder 2. Looking at cylinder 2, you can see right away there's a similar amount of carbon buildup. Just to be clear, the black is the carbon buildup, and that light color area is more or less the surface of the piston. It isn't exactly clean, so it's not like a silver metallic surface. Here's cylinder 3, this piston is all the way down. Here you can see the left side of the cylinder has a lot more carbon buildup than the right side. The right side is decently clean. Again, the edges do have carbon buildup, even on the right side, and that gives us a good idea of what cylinder 3 looks like. So that's cylinders 1 through 3. Let's go to cylinders 4 through 6 on this side. Let's go into cylinder 4 here, which is like cylinder number 1 on the driver's side. Looking in here, piston is all the way down. There's definitely carbon buildup on the edge of the piston here. This seems like a common trend. You could also see on the right side of the piston there's some carbon buildup as well. So that's cylinder 4. So we're going to check out cylinder number 5. Let's see what we got in here. Oh wow, there's a good amount of carbon buildup on cylinder number 5. Again, at the edge of the cylinder, that's where most of the carbon is getting built up. Here you can see a really good example of a dirty cylinder. You don't want the carbon to actually keep building on itself, because then it creates like little mounds and stuff, and that's not good for compression ratio for detonation. So cylinder 5 is going to be a really good cylinder to see if Gumout really works. Now let's move to cylinder number 6, the last cylinder. In cylinder number 6, you can see the edge of the cylinder has a decent amount of carbon buildup. As we pull out the borescope, you can see some of the carbon buildup in the middle as well. And that's cylinder number 6. Okay, so we checked out both sides of the engine, looked at all 6 cylinders. Now let's go fill her up and add the fuel additive. So I'm at the gas station, and the instructions on this say you add the entire bottle to a nearly empty gasoline tank and then fill it with 18 to 35 gallons. So I have a 17-gallon tank. You can see my fuel is almost empty here. And then it says on here to keep your engine clean, you just use 1 bottle for every oil change. In essence, every 3,000 to 5,000 miles you put one of these in, and it should keep your engine sparkly clean. Okay, so we're going to put this complete bottle in my tank. Almost done. Okay, so that is the complete bottle of Gumout. Let's see if this stuff actually works. Now I'm going to fill up. Okay. Now let's put this to the test and see. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to reset the mileage. So I have 122,759 miles. I'll keep the odometer on the top, the trip odometer. I'll keep that going so we can see how many miles I go on the tank. And then we'll look into the engine. Okay, I'm almost out of gas. You can see my tank is near empty. Here's the mileage now. Went 210 miles. So I'm going to shut the car, let it cool off, and then we'll go in, we'll check the cylinders, see if anything got cleaned out. It's the moment of truth. We're going in with the borescope camera, check out cylinders 1 through 3 on the passenger side, and we're about to find out if Gumout actually works. Okay, so we're going into cylinder 1. Looks about the same. Let's check out the before and after. Before is on top, after on bottom. And we look, and I mean, for the most part, this looks the same. There's no obvious differences. So let's move on to cylinder 2. Check this out. Okay, well, let's check out the before and after. So that black shiny carbon from before is not there anymore. That black shiny carbon is like a wet gummy carbon. It's soft, it's almost like a sludge. And you can see that carbon got cleaned off, which is pretty good. But that big clump of carbon to our right, that is still there, which is kind of disappointing because that's the more important stuff that you want to clean off. So with cylinder number 2, we do see that gum out does work, but it hasn't proven that it works on the large carbon deposits, which is what we want to see. Let's move out of cylinder number 2 and move into cylinder number 3. At first glance, this cylinder actually looks cleaned. So let's check out the before and after. So it definitely cleaned up this cylinder a good amount. Again, that black shiny carbon is gone. It's cleaned off. You could actually see the metal of the top of the piston. And that's pretty much all you need to see with cylinder 3. Okay, we did the passenger side, cylinders 1 through 3. Let's move to the driver's side, cylinders 4 through 6. Let's start with cylinder 4. Go in here, check it out. Let's get that before and after up. And again, that black carbon is cleaned up. But I want to take a closer look at the edge of the cylinder. That's where there's a lot of carbon buildup on most of these cylinders. And you can see that carbon buildup still there. It might have gotten cleaned off a little bit, but nothing significant. So let's go take a look at cylinder 5. Ooh, right away, this looks dirty. Does not look like it got cleaned very much, but let's check out the before and after. So again, that black shiny carbon was cleaned up, but the black carbon deposits which were piled up on each other and have been in the engine a little bit longer have not been cleaned up at all. I'm sure it's just the angle, but it actually looks like it got worse, but I'm just going to put that as it's the angle. So the gum out really didn't do much to remove the larger carbon deposits, which is disappointing because that's the stuff that's really not good for your engine. Okay, so last one, let's check out cylinder number 6. And let's get a before and after and see. This doesn't really look like it's changed very much. The carbon that's near the edge of the cylinder is still there. With this cylinder, it's pretty difficult to tell if the gum out has had any effect, but there is one thing that's clear. The carbon deposits are still there and there hasn't been any significant cleaning. Okay, and that was the last cylinder, cylinder number 6. And we just finished looking at all the cylinders. So in the end, would I recommend gum out? Well, let's go over what we saw. We did see a lot of that shiny black carbon, which is like a sludge that could gum up your engine. And it did get removed, which is really good. What was not removed were those large deposits of carbon near the cylinder edge. And that's pretty important. Overall, gum out cleaned about 10 to 20% of the total carbon. The cylinder that was cleaned the most was cylinder 3, but it was mostly that black shiny carbon. And cylinder 5, we had the most carbon buildup, and there was no visible cleaning of these carbon deposits, which was very disappointing. Overall, I was disappointed with the performance of gum out, and I thought the cylinders would have been cleaner. I was kind of excited. I was hoping that we'd see this big difference in before and after, and we didn't. On the bottle it says, with just one fill-up you'll see results, and well, we didn't see any significant results. I'm willing to give gum out one more chance, so I did purchase another bottle. I'm going to make a follow-up video so we could see if 2 bottles in a row will clean the cylinders even more. Maybe we'll get that significant result then. And I'm doing this because maybe you need to use this stuff multiple times, see any real results. And 2 bottles back to back should give me those results. So stay tuned for that video. But for this video, the gum out all-in-one engine cleaner had disappointing results, and it did not significantly clean the engine of its carbon deposits. I'm curious to what you think. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you think I tested this fairly. If I could change anything, I could always do another test on another vehicle with the gum out. I know some of you have had good experiences with this. Maybe it cleaned a clogged fuel injector or something, but this test was to see if it removed carbon deposits